talk to you.
Okay, we're live. Hi, guys.
Hello.
Every time we go live, I take a sip of my drink. I've noticed every single time. It's like a habit. Now
it's like a Pavlovian welcome to the show response. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the show that nobody asked for.
Nobody asked, and yet here we are again for your viewing pleasure.
Not a single solitary person asked for this show, and yet we continue to make it, Jamie.
Do you know what else is funny, Robin? It's like we dressed for the part. Look, we both have stripes.
I know. It's like Stripes Day. It's Stripes Day. We have like symbiosis going on today, Jamie. Let's roll the open, shall we? Let's roll the open.
It's the show that nobody asked for, the only reason that we shower. If these ovaries could talk is live right now.
Just brilliant.
Oh, come on.
Come on, guys. Come
on. Look at this. Your mom is here, Jamie.
There she is. Mom, you're going to love the show today. My mother literally just today went and got her hormones tested. I'm not even lying.
Oh, my God. I can't wait till Mama Sue starts chiming in. Mama Sue's going to have a lot of questions for our guest today, Dr. Erika.
Oh, my God.
Who we are so excited to have today. But
did you say hi to Brett yet? Hi, Brett. And please let us know you're here because we like to say hi. Hi, Rebecca. Rebecca, you made me almost late for this because I was so into what you were typing to me. OMG.
We're just to give a preview. In next week's show, Rebecca is going to join us and she's going to talk about her recent name change. And she's going to talk about an experience she had in a Facebook group about embryo donation and embryo adoption.
Embryo adoption. And it's a doozy. And there needs to be some LGBTQ action taken. And that's all I'm going to say there.
But first, Jamie, what is our first
hot topic?
Our first hot topic. Pantene loves the gays, Jamie.
I love Pantene. I use Pantene all the time. Thank you, Pantene.
Okay, before we get to this commercial, I want to say I used to use Pantene all the time, and you want to know what happened? So my kids got the lice. Okay, I have to say it out loud. The kids got the lice. Okay,
it happens.
But okay, so for like 2 weeks before my kids got the lice, I was just sitting going like this. I was like, God, something's going on with my. It's like, and I thought I had, and my sister was like, listen, she was like, you could be going into perimenopause. She was like, your hair could be falling out. You better go see a dermatologist. I make an appointment. I go see a dermatologist, and this lady goes, no, you got lots of hair. She goes, you got a little dandruff, and I'm like, that's weird. Still, this. I get the call from the school. I go pick my kid up. And they're like, your kid's got lice. And so I take them to the Lice Ladies. Literally, this name of this organization is called the Lice Ladies. And they're deep out in Brooklyn. We get in the car. We're driving to the Lice Ladies. And she goes, yeah, do you want me to check you just in case? And I'm like, yeah, no, go ahead.
You got the lice, Brian.
I sit in the chair and she goes, oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And I was just like, and now I'm throwing up. I'm throwing up inside of my whole. I'm like and she keeps being like, do you want to look? And I'm like, no, I don't want to look. I've got lice. I didn't get rid of the lice. So
you think you gave it to your kids?
Like, no, Maxine was patient zero. The whole family had lice. We did 14 bags of laundry. We threw out 800 million like brushes, pillows. Like I was just like a mad woman throwing things away. But here is the reason I can no longer use Pantene. They use to get lice out. The whole secret is they just take tons of conditioner and put it in your hair, and then they just comb it out because the conditioner stops them from running. Oh, and then they comb them all out and they get all the gnats, they get everything. And so the smell of Pantene. Okay, I was a little bit didn't mean to tell that story.
That just reminded me of when I was pregnant and my daughter was obsessed with that book, Dragons Love Tacos. And I was nauseous my whole pregnancy. I still to this day cannot read Dragons Love Tacos without getting nauseous.
All right, we're wildly off track because of lice, but I want to say that Pantene did this amazing commercial, and we're going to share it, where it was about a transgender kid with two lesbian moms. So we're going to play just like a little bit of it here.
Yeah, you go, Pantene. It's how you are seen. Look at that. It's beautiful.
Sawyer is an old soul. She is our spunky and creative kiddo. Sawyer also happens to be a transgender girl. I remember the first time she was out in the community wearing the clothing she wanted in her hair, and she kind of was herself. And
I was about to start crying.
I know. Well, I want to stop you from crying. But I mean, is that so beautiful?
Go ahead. They did that. Pantene. Go ahead, Pantene.
Apparently, they got all kinds of flack for it, and then they doubled down and were on like Twitter and were just like, "We support LGBTQ families," and I thought that was so amazing.
Good. I know. Why do we need to make you cry? Because this is what we do. I'm just kidding.
Right. Well, and because I need you to forget about the lice.
What a beautiful commercial. Don't think of life and think of Pantene. Think of the support they're giving the LGBTQ and the trans, especially the trans community who needs it so much right now.
Especially for young people, it's like I'm going to say this quietly because my daughter's out there, but I signed. Oh no, she's not here. I signed up for the green card. What is it? The green what is it? I know it makes your head itch when you talk about lice. The green card that's for kids. Now I can't think of it. The name of it.
I don't know.
But they had a whole thing, a whole section on it where they were like, "What does your child prefer to be called? He, she, her, they, them." And I thought that was so amazing when corporations are starting to do things like that. I think it's really wonderful.
Thank you. I mean, it's so important. It's so important. I'm reading, I just got a book. Speaking of organizations and things that are doing the right thing, there's this apparently, this book here, the Bare Naked book. It's in our stories if you want to go check it out. Apparently this was a book written years and years ago that was not inclusive, all kids of the same color, didn't talk, but they just revamped the book and they did new illustrations and they put new language that is not gender specific and also uses all colors and abilities. So, there are children in wheelchairs and it's just beautifully done. And my kids are obsessed with the book. All right, they're just obsessed with it. So anyway, that's another good one. And we didn't get a sponsor from them, which we should. But we keep having all these amazing. Call us. We're right here. I'm right here. I don't know.
All right. Let's do this. We have an amazing guest with us today, Dr. Erika Schwartz, and she has written 6 books. She's an amazing doctor. I mean, 6 best-selling books, Jamie. We not like our one. And it was not best-selling, but we did write that one. But Dr. Erika is going to come in and going to talk to us today about all kinds of stuff. Let's welcome her.
Dr. Erika.
Hi, Jamie. How are you?
Good. We're so excited to have you.
I'm so excited to be with you guys.
As you can see, Dr. Erika, it's all over the place. We want people to ask questions in the comments, so we'll pop them up as you're talking, but you seem like you could go with the flow on anything. So tell us a little bit about yourself, or tell our audience a little bit about yourself.
So I'm an MD, and I've been an MD for a lot longer than any of you have been alive, basically. And I started out as a conventional doctor, and my first job, I did internal medicine and training and trauma and critical care. And I trained in Brooklyn at Kings County, downstate. And then my first job out was to run a trauma center in Westchester Medical, at the age of 28. Can you imagine that?
Yeah, no.
And listen, they didn't pay me anything, so don't worry. They paid me less than any man would have been paid. And then, I know, shocking. Anyway, but I loved it. And then I stayed in Westchester. And after a while, it was really great. I mean, I loved running the trauma center, but I really kind of missed the human connection. And then I went into private practice and realized that conventional medicine was missing out on the human relationship. And the doctor is really doesn't know best, that the patient knows better, that you live in your body, that the doctor doesn't. And so I was kind of a misfit. And then I went into private practice and I did internal medicine and realized I was just ping-ponging patients around. And then I kind of moved away towards prevention and wellness. And I started doing this in the late 90s before anybody even knew what I was talking about. And then I started writing books. I started taking care of patients. Now I'm in the city and I've been here. We have a concierge practice that I'm blessed and grateful for having patients all over the world. And I spend a lot of my time just doing what you guys are doing, which is helping people keep their morale up and learn about themselves, live in their bodies, and take care of themselves. And along the way, I became kind of an expert in hormones and in, diet, exercise, lifestyle, stress management, supplements, putting the pieces together, because everything affects everything else, as you know, and everything can make your life better. And every little thing, it's like a puzzle. The more pieces of the puzzle you put in, the more you see what the puzzle's like. So that's basically about me. I have 2 children, 5 grandchildren, 3 dogs.
Oh, I love dogs.
I'm so interested in. Go ahead, Jim. You go ahead.
No, you go, Robin, because I'm just gonna
I was just gonna say you just said something in there. I mean, the patient advocacy thing is huge for us LGBTQ folks, but you also talked about hormones and how it's like the key to everything. And I can't help but think about that, how important that is for our group too, because as we go to like make families, let's talk about like maybe 2 women who are going into a clinic and maybe you want to do IUI, but there's all this like, stuff about money and like they put you on the route to IVF in 5 seconds and how is what you do fit in with what we do? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. What I do is, listen, I protect my patients. So I will do the research. I will do kind of the hand holding to find the right route that is not about money, that I'm not going to get you to be supporting their next car, but rather doing what's best for you. So I work with a lot of patients and, there are a lot easier ways of doing it than we know, because I also work with trans, and I have had a lot of people that, because I work with bioidentical hormones, and most doctors who work with trans people do not work with bioidentical hormones. So they're not doing as good a job of helping them feel normal. And it's hard enough to transition than it is to like kind of become normal for yourself. And I work with a lot of them, and actually one of my best friends transitioned at the age of 50, which was pretty impressive. And so I've had a lot of experience with that. And I just think that there are easier ways to do it. And especially from the beginning, when you're talking at the stages where you're just starting a family, it's a lot easier to do because actually, you guys know how to do this. So you can guide people to do it without having to spend, their whole life, and all the money they make to get a child. And it's a lot, it's a lot. And, a lot of them work really nice, and IUI works really well. You don't need to go to IVF. IVF is really kind of a last resort, and you don't need to try to, you don't need to allow, when somebody tells you, you don't want to be bullied. You don't want to allow anybody to bully you. So there is about creating the community, working as part of the community, and having support that better in your heart of hearts which way to go. And if the doctor is arrogant and tells you they know better, forget it.
Yeah. Well, what's funny? Robin says this all the time. When we go to fertility clinics, because there are other paths to creating our family, but a lot of us choose to go the scientific route because the success rate is high with the scientific route, right? So, but when couples like us go to these clinics, we are automatically treated like an infertile couple when we're not going there because we're infertile. Right. And so advocating for ourselves is super important, and being able to say, listen, no, we're just a gay couple. We just need help getting that into here and making the science happen.
You get the sperm, right?
Yeah, exactly. But like in my instance, now we're going to take this to a personal case basis. Let's put this in action. So my personal case, my wife and I went. We were going to have 2 children. My wife got pregnant first, had our daughter. Then it was my turn. We were running out of sperm. So the doctor suggested we go right to IVF for me. I was still young. We went right to IVF. It didn't work. Then we had to buy more sperm, started all over again, went to IUIs, medicated. all heavily medicated.
Why?
So I went through 2.5 years of medicated fertility treatments and didn't get pregnant, and they couldn't explain why, because there was no reason for why I shouldn't be getting pregnant. Fast forward, I switched doctors, I did all kinds of stuff and changed things up, and ended up getting pregnant on a lightly medicated IUI with my new doctor on just the second try. So, but my question to you is, in the work that you do and in hormone work, I am almost positive my hormones are something is out of whack because of all that stuff that I went through.
I told you, Dr. Erika, I told you Jamie would self-diagnose within 5 minutes of this interview.
But she's right, because you know what? If there was nothing wrong with you, and what you needed was just the sperm.
Right.
And IUIs, if you don't want to have sex with a man, you're going to have to get the sperm from the sperm bank. And if they're going to do an IUI, so most IUIs now in heterosexual people doesn't require medication. It's just making sure you're ovulating, and that's when you do it, and it works. And I think that a lot of medication. How many years ago was that, Jamie?
It started about 5.5 years ago, and it lasted for 2.5 years, and then I got pregnant. So my son is 3 now. So, well, but now, Dr. Erika, now we're going to get personal.
But that's
now, yeah. So I, on my third IVF transfer, when I was in the wait for to find out if I was pregnant, I started experiencing extremely painful and serious cramping that continues every month. 15 days before I get my cycle, I start having these like cycles of cramps that I never had before. And I swear, I know it's because of these fertility drugs, because I never even had PMS before. Now I have crazy PMS, and I have these like crazy cycles of cramps. So
true. You know what? People who do IVF, who do any kind of medication that alters your hormone production, wind up either like an early menopause with all kinds of issues, infertility, which you don't have, thank God. And that happens, but you're not going to hear the doctors telling you that, because they don't want you to know that, because it's a booming industry.
I have never heard that. That's true. I have never heard that before. It's not shocking, but it is.
I've told multiple doctors, I've gone to my doctor, like, these cramps, I can't take them anymore. Help me, please. Like, no answers. They just think that's your PMS cycle, but I never had that before.
No, that's female problems.
That's right. Well, try fixing them. So how about, did they ever give you progesterone?
Nope.
So
they did during infertility, yes.
Well, you weren't infertile. Right. It was during the period of time that they didn't know how to do it to help you out. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
But the thing is, what I would say is try progesterone. After the show, connect with me, and we'll.
My mother, I'm not going to lie to you. My mother, almost every time I talk to her, is like, go get a hormone makeup. You got to go test your hormones. She's right.
Your mother's ahead of her time, because, the women in their 50s and 60s are still being bullied by the idea of what happened with the study in 2002, which is almost 20 years ago, that said that hormones weren't good for you. And the study was retracted by the ones who ran the study in 2017, and there was no media coverage for that. And women still think that hormones are not good for you.
I still thought that. Well, can you tell us, like, what does it, like, let's say whether it's a woman like Jamie or maybe someone like me who's I'm probably heading into peri, and when I say probably, I am. So like the perimenopause action.
Just labels. We don't care.
Okay, so but like what if we were to come to you, like what do you do? You do, like, what does a hormone workup mean, and like what are the expectations, and how does it help me as a person?
First of all, I listen to your story, because each one of us are unique, as you know. There are no two of us alike, and I may have been taking care of 100,000 patients already, but every single one's different. So I need to hear your story. should I put this in? Because it's I hear echo. Do you? Do you hear
We're
echo?
okay. We're okay. If it's bothering you, you can put it in. But if not,
it's fine. So anyway, so I listened to the story, and everybody has to tell me their own story. And the more I listen, the more people open up and tell me. And then once I hear the story, then we sometimes do bloods. Most of the time we do bloods, like the second half of the cycle, meaning like day 17. If you have a 28-day cycle, like maybe day 17, because that'll tell me what's going on with your hormones, if you're ovulating, and what's happening towards the end of the cycle when you, Jamie, have your cramps. And then that'll tell me what's going on. And then we start tweaking your hormones. And whether it is that we tweak your thyroid first or your adrenals first, and then we get to estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, depends. There are people in their 30s, like, people who've had like the, IVF and have been on birth control pills, let's say forever, who have problems with, because, like birth control pills are given and not just, for, stopping ovulation, but they're given for the craziest of reasons, like for cramps, and it doesn't make sense.
They just had me put an IUD in, and I did it because I need the pain to stop. I don't know what I'm like saying. Fine.
What kind of IUD? By the way, IUDs increase the pain because your uterus doesn't particularly like having something stuck in it all the time, so it contracts more, so you have more pain. But this is what kind of IUD is an IUD with hormones like Mirena, which actually creates more problems. Or is an IUD that'll give you probably more cramps. That's what it'll do. But we'll see. We'll fix it. We now have each other. We'll fix it.
You're my new savior.
So when you say like take hormones, so like you were talking about that study, I heard that like once don't take hormones, you're going to get cancer. Don't take hormones. Once you start taking them, you can never stop. Like I've heard all these like horrible things about it. Like just tell us why that's all wrong.
Well, first of all, that study, as I said to you, it took forever, but 15 years later, they took it back, and the principal investigators said that study actually was so flawed, it didn't really reflect anything. There is one type of hormone therapy that is a progestin, like what you have in that Mirena, that was not a good drug, but everything else, like the pregnant mare's urine that they were giving, whatever, it didn't increase the risk of cancer, strokes, heart attacks. It didn't increase any of that. And it was retracted, but somehow the media didn't pick up on it because, you make more money by having people sick and giving them all kinds of garbage than it is telling people here bioidentical hormones work and keeping them healthy. Because if they're healthy, they're not going to be running around getting ridiculous tests all the time and taking drugs. So medication drugs, I mean, not the other drugs anyway. So what happened was that turns out that hormones, if you think about it, common sense, not even science, when you're in your 20s and your hormones are very high, right? Or when you're pregnant, when you have really high hormone levels when you're pregnant, right? You don't get cancer, you don't get heart attacks, your immune system works better than ever, you're in best shape ever. So what are the risks of hormones? Actually, the risks of no hormones is the problem, because women start getting into trouble, start getting chronic illnesses when they start losing their hormones, whether you call it perimenopause, menopause, whatever you call it. So as you get older and you lose your hormones, you get an increase in diseases of aging, like diabetes, hypertension, adult onset diabetes, arthritis, heart disease, etc. All of these things become prevalent as you get older. And what has changed? Hormones. So when you lose your hormones, your risk goes up. So hormones are not only good for you, they're actually a must if you want to continue being a contributor to society, if you want to continue having a brain, Alzheimer's, right? If you want to continue sharing what you've learned with the younger generation so you can change the way the world is to a better place. So I think that we have science that is 60, 70 years old that shows us that hormones are safe. They protect you from heart disease. They protect your breasts from cancer. They protect your brain from Alzheimer's. It's ridiculous that people don't know that. And the American College of Obstetrics and Gynecologists and the North American Menopause Society, who teach the OBGYNs, are still teaching them the outdated information because, you know, they're in bed with the drug companies. That's about as simple as that. So the thing is, hormones are great. I have patients who've been on hormones for 30 plus years. I have no intention of, I've been on hormones for 26 years, 24 years, and I have no intention of ever going off of them. I'm healthy. I feel great. I don't have any medical issues. And, you know, I don't have one patient who has cancer, you know, diabetes, or any kind of problems that you get with aging. And they're all, yeah, they listen to me. They do diet, exercise, lifestyle, stress management, you know, meditate, you know, acupuncture, do all kinds of things. Because I saw somebody flash by with acupuncture. Yes, all of these things work, but they work together, like I said, in a puzzle. And the hormones are kind of the core, the center of the puzzle. If you do it right, you benefit. If you do it wrong, you're not gonna get sick. You may gain some weight, you may feel bloated, there are all kinds of things, but they're not gonna kill you. They're not gonna get you into trouble. You can always stop and then regroup and find somebody who cares about you. And I think the operational world is care, who listens to you, cares about you, treats you as the unique human being you are, and puts you on the right combination of hormones.
Yeah, it's interesting. I want to take it back to IVF and IUI just because we've had some comments here. And you're not saying that nobody should do IVF. That's not what we're saying here. Like, it depends on the situation. And for instance, like my wife did IVF and has no side effects, no repercussions from it whatsoever. So everybody's different, like you said.
You know what, Jamie? IVF is a boon for women. It has changed. You know, there are all these women who couldn't have babies for whatever reasons, who thank God for IVF, now have babies and they're healthy and they're fine. So I'm not by any figment of my imagination that I would say that IVF is not good. IVF in the right setting for the right reason is great. But it's got to be right. It's not this willy-nilly, you walk in, Jamie, you're fine. You happen to be gay, so you don't want to have sex with a guy. So you need to, right? It's as simple as that. So that's really it, right? Like, that doesn't mean you need IVF. You need IUI, and that's about it. Right. And you need somebody to know that you're actually ovulating and just do the IUI. It's simple as that. But I think that it's about really being honest and caring about the patient. I feel
like we've come across more and more stories of people who, after maybe 2 IUIs, go directly to IVF. And I understand some of it at this point. Sperm for one month of, like, say you're doing 2 IUIs can cost $1,500, $2,000. And so they're like, when they're starting to look at the cost of, like, can I do $12,000 worth of sperm, 6, plus that cost of the IUIs, they start to go, I'm going to increase my chances. But what I like about what you're saying is you're advocating to stop and think about what's best for you, to know your body. And it's one of the things that I think Jamie did really well in her own story. She left this out, but I've heard it so many times I can say it, is that she knew that where she was at was not right for her. And she kept saying, no, I am going to get pregnant and it's not going to be IVF. And that's why she switched doctors. And she tried all these other things in concert with a new doctor and then ended up getting pregnant. And I think we get on this path. And I think it's probably not just us as LGBTQ people, but also you're talking about patients everywhere.
Everyone.
You get on this path, and then it's a doctor's telling me something, I guess I should follow it. And then you just keep moving, and you might have this nagging feeling like, I don't think I'm supposed to do that. And you do it anyway.
So listen to your gut. Listen to your gut. The doctor is selling you. They're selling you, whether they know they're selling you or not. They're selling you on what they know and where they make their living. So the doctor does not know best. The patient knows better. But the patient is kind of obliterating their gut because they override their gut because they think that the doctor knows better, but the doctor doesn't live in your body. And everyone you have to go is like, what's the motivation? Like, what's my motivation to tell you to do IVF? Well, if I do IVF for a living, I'm making a living. If I don't do IVF for a living, then I probably don't have any motivation to do it, except that it makes sense to me, that it's right for you. And if you and I are on the same page, then it's fine. You know what I mean? So you have to look at where the motivation comes from. And, this is crucial. And listen to your gut. Jamie, listen to her gut and make sense. I have a patient who I adore, who's 35 years old, and she's a very successful lawyer. So she decided she did not have time. She's hetero, so she decided that she doesn't have time to figure out to get pregnant, to try to get pregnant, whatever. And her husband traveled a lot, whatever. And this was before COVID. And so she decided she would go right for IVF. She had the money, and it was easier. And it wasn't, she control freak, right?
Yeah.
Right? So she had to make sure she was pregnant. And she did it. Well, you know what? God bless her. It's fine.
Yeah.
And she got pregnant and everything was fine. But that was a very well thought through. And she's my patient, so we talked it through. She knew I was like, this makes no sense. But whatever. I respect you and I will listen to you. And my bias is not going to come through to you. And she's fine. So IVF is not the problem. The problem is when it's part of an upsell that you don't need, or when it's just going to hurt you for no reason. And and it's about balance. Everything in life is about balance. And it's about finding the right balance.
I mean, even when I started taking the fertility drugs, especially for the IVFs, I knew these were not good for my body. Like, I could feel it. I could feel that my body did not like these drugs. And I think that you would know when you put something in you don't feel right. But you have to be really in tune with yourself, and you have to trust your gut. And that's not always easy.
No, because we live in a culture where women are told from the time they're little that they don't need to trust their gut because the gut is wrong. And the gut is always right. Always.
Yes.
Every time. And I tell you, as a doctor, as a scientist, as whatever I do for a living, all these years, I have to tell you, every time I didn't listen to my gut, I made a mistake. Every time. So when my gut says something, I now, because I'm old, think about it and go, well, you know what? Let my gut make the decision. And then I tell my patient. And you know what's interesting? My patients love it. They love it because we're on the same page. Because when you're not on the same page, how could that person be someone you trust? How could you trust somebody who's not on the same page, who doesn't hear you, who doesn't have the same doubts you have? The same, so no, absolutely.
Well,
so
I feel like we're hearing that a lot with COVID right now, with all these people who have like long COVID, and doctors are just going, go exercise. And it's like, they're just not even listening to them.
No, they can't breathe. Right.
Yeah. I have to, every time I go to the doctor, I have to explain it all over again. Every single time, even if it's the same doctor, I have to explain, no, I'm married to a woman. I always have to I have to tell them that again. And then I also have to explain the whole, I have these cramps, and it never sticks. It never sits in. And I go back, how's that IUD working out for your sex life? It's not for my sex life. You know what I mean? Like, why do I have to keep, so.
Right. Yeah. No, because the doctors don't, I just read a book. It's called You're Not Listening. It's a new book. And it teaches you how important it is to listen, and how in our society, we get into a lot of trouble because we don't know how to listen, because we're always trying to figure out what's the next answer. Whatever somebody talks, you go like, what am I going to say next? And that you learn how to listen, you can do a much better job of helping yourself and others.
Yeah.
I feel like you are a breath of fresh air in the medical industry, because I find that most of the time when I go in, I'm just like, I'm a 5-minute slot, and I spend more time with the person who weighs me, and then the doctor comes in, says 4 things, and leaves. And there's and then there's hurrying, and I went to the chiropractor recently, and I went in, and the guy started saying all these things, and I said, "Did you read my chart?" And he said, well, no, you did and I said, if you read my chart, you would know this is chronic. So like, can we start there? Or would you like to hear and I was so pissed because I was just like, I'm going to pay you. And you couldn't even be bothered to read my chart before I walked in the store.
It's offensive. It's offensive.
Because
let's see what Jamie's mom has to say.
It's hard to advocate for yourself. It's very hard, especially as women. So, but here's my mom.
She had a little different perspective to add. Breast cancer surgery, ER plus hormone suppression prescribed. Major side effects. Most oncologists follow the pack, follow what they were taught. Reading about estrogen, testosterone, yes, testosterone in women, and how important these hormones are, especially with aging women.
Yeah. And yeah, thank you. You're right. And, women lose their libido, and actually libido is really what makes you feel good. Like sex is important and you have to have sex in order to feel good. And if you don't feel good and you get older, then you really feel like you're a dried up prune and nobody's going to pay attention to you anymore. And sex is crucial. Testosterone is an amazing hormone because not only does it help you get your libido back, because it does, but it also increases your ability to build a muscle. And, women are also brainwashed that we should be thin and not have muscle, right? Which is kind of insane because muscle is the most important organ to keep us young, to keep our metabolism going, and to keep us moving, right? So testosterone helps with that. Testosterone also protects your heart. It's great cardiovascular, and your brain. It protects you from Alzheimer's. So there's a lot of really good stuff about testosterone. Interestingly enough, testosterone for women went through the FDA for approval for some obscure reason, which I couldn't tell what it is because it made no sense. They didn't pass it. It's in Europe, but it's not here. So doctors prescribe testosterone for women from the male doses and say, take a little bit of the male dose. How crazy is that? How crazy is that? We're not little men. We're not little men. It's insane. Anyway, so testosterone is a great hormone. I mean, I prescribe testosterone every day and patients love it. And sometimes I don't even have to give them estrogen because testosterone, when it gets into your body, turns into estrogen. So they get their life back. A woman in her 50s gets her life back the moment you give her testosterone. Then you give progesterone, what I was telling you, Jamie, that you need a little bit of that. That's what I would try first to see what's going on there, to get rid of those cramps.
I love you.
I love you too. You guys are doing such a good job. This is a laugh fest. Right, it's true.
But so let's just say I'm coming in to see you. You're gonna do a workup on me. And it's going to help with I hit 50 and I started to get
you hit 50 when, in 20 years?
No, I'm 50. I'm going to be 51 in August. Thank you. I've got a filter on the camera. It's fine.
I need that filter.
So irritable, especially in the morning. I'm all dried out. My hair is all I came out and I was talking to my wife. I was like, why is my hair getting so wiry? I was like, what is going on? And it's all these things starting to happen. But the irritability thing, I feel so crusty a lot. And I feel that I can definitely say it's a change that's come in recently. Is that's a hormone type thing as well?
Of course it is. That's exactly what it is. One patient told me at the beginning before I went through it, and I was like, because you don't know until you know it because you've gone through it. And I was like, she said to me, I feel like I'm circling the drain. I was like, what does that mean? Well, at 46, I found out what circling the drain was. Suddenly, like this. So, yeah, that's what it is. And it's so easy to fix. It's miraculous. And I say miraculous with a science background, with a history of having done this for 40 years. 30 years on hormones now, probably. And it's miraculous. You feel like yourself. You get, you're not dried up anymore. You feel like you. Yeah. And you sleep well again. You're interested again. Life actually has color in spite of COVID.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, right. Well, it sounds like all of us need to go to Dr. Erika.
I mean, how do we all come to see you? And you also need to say to people, because you've written 6 books, everyone can't read them all at once. So tell them the path that where they need to start with your books, and then how they can find you and get in touch with you.
Okay. The book that we were talking about before the show was Don't Let Your Doctor Kill You, is my patient advocacy book, which I started in 1999, and then it got published in 2015 or 16 because they didn't want to publish it, because who would want to tell the truth that doctors' arrogance causes all the medical mistakes and all of that. But now, as I said to you, I did a TEDx talk about it, so it was really good. So that's if you're interested in patient advocacy and empowering yourself, because women, as you said, Jamie, before, are just like kind of like trained to not listen to, to go with the flow, like you said, Robin, that just go with it. You start down the path and you just keep on going. You don't have to. You just have to say, you know what, this doesn't make sense to me. There'll be somebody else. It's like relationships, any relationships. So much, so far, no further, and then it's next. There's next. There are a lot of doctors. Anyway, and there are a lot of doctors who care. And if they don't care, you don't need them. Move on. So that's Don't Let Your Doctor Kill You, if you like that. Then about hormones, it's the new Hormone Solution, because the original Hormone Solution, which came out in 2002, right when that study went bust, was number 2 on Amazon, and it was by default because there was nobody else who was the study was going to go bust. I just told the truth. And when you tell the truth, sometimes your timing is good, sometimes it isn't. You know that. So the new Hormone Solution came out, I think, in 2017 or so, and it was a kind of updated old Hormone Solution. So that would be what you would want to read if you want to understand hormones. And it's really, really decent, because I'm not, into writing medical mumbo jumbo. I'm into explaining and making life easier. So you can go in and say, okay, this is what I need and this is what I don't need. So those are the 2 books that I would say. And then the last one, which came out, I think, 2019 or something like that, is The Intimacy Solution. And that's about human sexuality at different ages, because I go from teens to whatever, over 60, yes. And it's about bringing in intimacy and its relationship to sexuality at various ages, how they actually meet or don't meet, and what you could do to kind of recapture things you've lost, regardless. Like, I gave a talk to this group of women that were working in corporate America, and they were like in their 20s and 30s, and they were having, I said to them, man, so how's your sex life? Because obviously you're young, right? And they were like, what sex life? I said, what do you mean? And there were like 20 of them. So I said, what do you mean? So I said, well, aren't you having a lot of sex? So they said, no, we don't have a lot of sex. I'm not really interested, and this one's not. I'm like, what's going on? You're working too hard. Yeah, they're working too hard, but they're also on birth control pills, which kill your sex drive. And the stress in their lives were so high that it killed their sex life. So it doesn't start at 50, it starts at 25, literally. So I wrote The Intimacy Solution, and that's one of my favorite books, because I wrote the stories of my patients in various age groups and how either we get it back or you gave up on it and you move on to and accept the reality that maybe you're not going to do it, and that also, the other thing was like to get women to understand that, masturbation is great and it's not just for men. And that
I didn't see that coming. I was shocked.
Dr. Erika, my mother is probably like cheering in her seat, right? My mother asks me about my sex life all the time. My mother asks me if I'm masturbating. Like, this is
What?
I like your mother. She sounds good to me.
Yes.
So, but there's a whole generation of people who, I had to start ordering vibrators on Amazon to send it to my patients because they were afraid to do it. So this is what happened, was that eventually, people start realizing, your generation is fine. They get it. But it was all about, so that's part of the book. There's a lot of really nice stuff. I like that book. So you have 3 options. Don't Let Your Doctor Kill You, the new Hormone Solution, and the Intimacy Solution.
I feel like I need all of these. Oh, my mom has a foot doctor videos appointment. She's saying goodbye. She loves you though.
Goodbye, Mom.
Where can they, if they want to come see you? Because I'm assuming now that we're all virtual, you might be able to see people around the country, around the world. Is that true? Am I making a false assumption?
We did it before there was COVID. We've been doing it forever.
So how can they get in touch with you for that?
They can go to ES Health. That's
eshealth.com.
ES Health. Yeah, eshealth.com, and they can get in touch through the office, and they can get me anytime they want. Ordering vibrators is full service practice. Yeah, well, absolutely. I do that. Listen, I do anything for my patients. That's it.
That's great. I love this. I feel like everybody needs to get in touch with Dr. Erika and find out what's wrong with them.
I know. We're gonna thank you so much for coming. This was so lovely to talk to you. You're wonderful.
Thank you. You're wonderful, guys. Wonderful.
Oh, thank you. All right, bye, Dr. Erika.
Thank you.
Oh my God, I love Dr. Erika.
Oh my God.
By the way, I just want to say that I had a full-on breakdown in the middle, picturing your mother asking you about masturbation, and I was just like, and then I lost focus. I was like, but I can't.
That talk started happening when I was like 10. Like, okay,
what?
So you should, yeah. Oh yeah. Like, I'm a San Francisco hippie child.
You just have to remember that my daughter's turning 12, and I just cannot get my head around that. But that was so lovely.
Tell her it's okay and that she should.
You tell her that. I'm not telling you.
It's not my daughter.
I'll tell your daughter. You tell my daughter. It's good. But
I'll tell you this though. When my mother had that talk with me, it was the most mortifying experience of my preteen life. But
I'm mortified right now imagining it. What I just want to say, I love Dr. Erika, and I'm wondering who will first call her, me or you, or will we be conference calling her and being like, can you see us both, but we need separate appointments?
I have to go to her. If she can help me get rid of these cramps, I'll do anything.
I bet she can. And I'm like, why did I not think of hormones? Like, why am I because I have a tendency to think like, oh, this is what it is. You just got to ride it out. Like, that's what I do with anything when it comes to health, because my mom never took us. We didn't go to the doctor. Like, she stopped taking me to the dentist at like 10. I didn't go till after college. And the guy was like, what happened? And I was like, we didn't go. She didn't like doctors. We didn't go.
Oh God. Yeah.
So I'm going to have to go see Dr. Erika. And I think we all just need to maybe just move into her office and be like, Dr. Erika, it's itchy.
I'm going to be like, Dr. Erika, I need a hormone. I need a hormone right now. What can I I didn't talk about my shot. I have arthritis in my thumb. I didn't even talk about that. I mean, I have a whole conversation I have to have with her.
I don't want to be anywhere near your appointment with her. It's going to take so long. All right. Well, let's say goodbye to everybody. Thank you for tuning in. This was so wonderful.
We love you guys.
We do.
Tune in next week because it's going to be a good one.
Listener Rebecca is going to be coming, and we're going to be talking about this Facebook thing, and we're going to need lots of comments. And also, if you're a listener and you want to be on the show and you have a topic that you want us to discuss, write us at ovariestalk@gmail.com and propose the topic. We're happy to bring you in. We love having our guests in. It is a lot of fun.
Yeah, and you can also DM us on whatever social network you're on, because that happens a lot too.
What are you, 19? DM us.
Isn't that what people say?
They do. The people do say that, Jamie. All right. On that note, eggs.
Ovaries.
Out.
Out.